up guys? So in this video I'm going to be turning myself into a gender bent Joker. So this is a collaboration with Melvin here on YouTube, and you can check him out. The link is down below. He's amazing at what he does.
And this is also a collaboration with Zach Zenga here on YouTube. He's really talented. They both are very talented. Zach did a gender bent Poison Ivy, and Melvin did a gender bent Harley Quinn. Zach joined the collaboration after I filmed my intro for this video, so that's why I have to voice over right now. But if you want to check their looks out, the links will be down below, and if you're on a computer, you can actually click their images right now and it'll take you directly to their tutorials.
I know that I said I'm not going to be doing comic book or video game characters on this channel, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to collab with Melvin, so I did, or as you see, I am uploading a tutorial on this channel. But I want to say this: if you do enjoy video games and comic books, I suggest that you check out my other channel, Geekupp. On that channel, we actually did a Harley Quinn and Joker tutorial, but based off of the way they look in Batman the Animated Series. So when I was thinking of how I wanted this character to look, I kind of didn't have a clue until I started to paint myself. I just knew that I wanted to incorporate some of the elements from Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight with the Chelsea smile, and I knew that I didn't want my Joker to look too girly, because honestly, if you know about the Joker is very dark and twisted character, so I didn't want my Joker to look like too girly. Basically, I wanted it to look like a psychopathic type of girl rather than like a prim proper type of girl, or one that is like overly sexy, like think Catwoman and Poison Ivy with their like big boobs and everything about them is really sexy. I wanted this to look a little bit twisted. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Please give it a thumbs up if you like it, and now let's begin.
I'm starting the look off by applying a glue stick over my eyebrow hairs so that they lie flat and the face paint applies better to the hairs in that area. Then I start to apply a cream white makeup all over my skin using a makeup sponge. The cream makeup I'm using is from Ben Nye, and I wanted to use something creamy instead of the face paint so that my skin shows through it and it looks a little bit messy like the Heath Ledger version of the Joker. If you don't know that version of the Joker, it's not like really in a comic book. There was a Joker graphic novel where he had that type of makeup, and there's like some Joker comic books where they say that Heath Ledger version of the Joker is based off of. But as for the makeup or the look of the Joker, it's only in a graphic novel that came out after The Dark Knight, but it was being written before The Dark Knight, so I don't know if they based it off of that. Now I take a red paint and start to paint on the lips. When I start painting on the outside portion of the mouth, I make squiggly lines in the area so the lip won't be perfect, so that it starts looking like a Chelsea smile, like the Heath Ledger version of the Joker where he has a Chelsea smile. You don't want the lips to be perfect straight lines there. You want them to curve around so it kind of looks like scarring in a cut. I then fill in the lips using that red paint. And when I start to paint the part where the Chelsea smile is, you want that part to look a little bit more gory and like cut skin. So you take your red paint and you start to fade it toward the middle of the Chelsea smile, so it starts looking like ripped skin and just like the layers of flesh that are in there. So you want it to look really gross. And then you're going to take a darker red color, so you can mix a little bit black with your red paint to get a darker color, and you're going to use that to create some kind of depth where the Chelsea smile is. So you create a line that's going right through the middle of it and then just kind of blend it out using your brush. I actually have an FX tutorial on my channel where I show you how to create the Chelsea smile using nothing but body paint. So if you want to know how to make it look even cooler than what I did here, you can go ahead and check it out. The link will be down below. You then want to mix together a flesh tone pink color that you paint the bottom portion of the Chelsea smile with. So I just mix my red paint in with a tan color from Wolfe to create the flesh tone color that I need, and I just paint the bottom portion of the Chelsea smile with that paint. Now take a white paint and start using that to paint on the teeth. The Joker's teeth are normally really gross and yellow looking when you're looking at comic books or graphic novels of him, but I didn't really want to go with a very yellow tone tooth look for this, just because I wanted it to look a little bit more delicate. Even though it still looks distressed, this Joker, I wanted it to look a little bit more delicate and kind of put together because it is supposed to be a female version of the Joker. So I just ended up using white paint, and I eventually shaded using some black eyeshadow to give it a little bit more gray tone to it. Now I'm going to take a black paint and I'm going to start outlining the teeth using the black paint, and you want to make sure you apply that paint to the center of your mouth and you extend it out toward the Chelsea smile. So this will help hide your lips and just make people focus more on the Joker mouth rather than your actual mouth. My finger ended up getting red paint on it, and I ended up like getting that paint onto the white part of my face, but I just ended up leaving it because, like I said, this is supposed to look messy. So I was like, whatever, it looks messy with those like marks on the bottom of my lip. You then take your black paint and you start to outline the lips of the Joker. To paint on the gums, I use a pink paint that I mixed together using my tan paint because I didn't want it to look too pink. Once I've done that, I go back with my red paint and I just blend a little bit of that into the pink gums, to especially like near the teeth, to make it look a little bit more realistic and a little grosser. So it has like those pink and red tones, and a little bit more red than it should be, just because even though I didn't want the teeth to look as gross as the Jokers normally do look, I still wanted it to have that kind of like unkempt, gross look to the teeth. I start to add some pink paint and tan color paint on the lips to make them look a little bit more like lips, to give them more texture. Sorry if I sound like bleh. I'm sick right now, I've got allergies, and that's kind of why I sound like a dying robot. Moving on to the eyes, I take a white paint and I start to paint on the whites of the eyes. I don't wear contacts, so if you have contacts, you can go ahead and wear them, but I don't wear contacts, so lots of times I have to paint my eyes on. Then I start to paint on the iris. I just mix together a blue color that I used to paint on the iris, and then I go back with my black paint and I use it to outline the iris and to paint on a pupil. If you want the eye to look more realistic than it actually is, you want to take your black paint and just paint some black lines throughout the eye, just very thin black lines, and then you use your white paint to add some light to the eyes. As if, you know, you're like staring at a sun or something, you can see the light reflecting in the eyes, and then you can even add some white little lines throughout the eyes to create even more of that type of effect. And you can even add other tones of blue if you want to. I only really use 2 different paints that I mix together of blue shades to paint the iris, but you can use a bunch of different tones of blue and it'll look even more realistic, because that's how eyes are. You might have brown eyes, but there's different tones of brown in your eyes. It's not just one solid brown color. Once you've got the eyes all painted, you can then go back with your black paint and use it to outline the entire eye and paint on some eyelashes if you're going for a gender bent looking Joker. So you want longer looking eyelashes if you're going to go ahead and do that. And then you want to start applying some of that paint below your eye, but in a really sloppy manner, so it looks like the Heath Ledger version of the Joker. And then to create that sloppiness that I needed all around the eye, I use a black grease paint, so a black cream paint, and I use that to start creating that messy eyeshadow looking effect like the Joker Heath Ledger style. I'm gonna like say that 1,000 times. Anyways, and you just paint, like, you literally apply it as sloppy as you want. You want it to look sloppy, like it creased and smudged all over your face. Wanted the lips to look a bit more sloppy, so I use a red grease paint and just apply that around the mouth to make it look like my lipstick smudge. After that, I take a green paint and I use it to fill in some of the eyebrow hairs so that it looks like I have green eyebrows. I wanted the Joker to have a little bit more of a girly feel to it, so I ended up painting a heart below its left eye. You can paint on a heart, a clover, a spade, a diamond, preferably something that is on a deck of cards. Now you want to use a skin tone powder, so it can be an eyeshadow, a bronzer, a contour powder, to start creating the wrinkles that are on the face. You want to use something that is skin tone because you want it to look like this, like the white makeup creased all over your face and your skin is showing through it. So that's why I'm using the skin tone color. And you just want to create wrinkles anywhere wrinkles would normally lie on your face. So on your forehead, between your brows, around your eyes, around your nose. You can just create lots of crazy facial expressions to see where your wrinkles normally lie. Because this is a Genderbent Joker, I wanted my Joker to have a little bit more of a contour, so more chiseled looking cheekbone and a contoured nose, so I use that powder to contour my cheekbones and my nose. Then I take a little bit of a black eyeshadow, not too much, because if it's too much it's going to look too black, and I use that to create a longer looking jawline. So I want the chin to look more like pointy than it actually looks. If you use black eyeshadow like I did, you want to make sure you take your brush and you like apply it to the back of your hand, so when you apply it to your face it's not too dark. You don't want it to be too dark. Now we can finally start moving on to the rest of the body. So you want to go back with your white cream makeup and apply it onto your neck and ears. Then I didn't know what I wanted to do with the suit. I just knew that I needed it to look a little bit more girly than it actually is. So I took a purple paint, more like a lilac type of color, and I start painting on the Joker's jacket. But instead of having it buttoned down all the way toward my waist, I ended up like having an open jacket so that the center of my belly would be showing. I went with a lime green color for the undershirt, so I just take a lime green paint and I go ahead and paint on the undershirt. And then I start to paint the rest of my skin that's near my chest and the collarbone that is showing white, so that I could start painting on the tie. The tie color I went with was yellow. Now that I got all the base colors for the clothing down, I start to detail the clothing. So I mix together a dark gray color that I use to outline the inner part of the jacket. Then I take my black paint and I paint on the collar of the jacket, and then I use that black paint to start creating the shadow that is under the collar. I actually learned this from JordanHanz from her tutorials, so if you want to check her out, I'll link her down below. But I've been learning a lot about shading from her, so she's a really good person to watch. To define the tie, I use a brown color that I mixed a little bit of yellow paint in, so it has kind of a yellow undertone, and I use that to start defining the tie. So you can see this is where the top of the tie is, and this is where the collar of the tie is. And then I also use that paint to create some wrinkles in the middle of the tie. Then I mix together a dark green color that I used to outline the top of the t-shirt or whatever it is that is underneath the jacket. Now we can start creating shadows on the jacket to make the jacket look more realistic. So you take a black eyeshadow. Again, make sure there's not too much black eyeshadow on the brush, otherwise it's just not going to look realistic and it's going to look too harsh. And you use that to start creating shadows around the collar. So you use the eyeshadow to create shadows where the jacket and your skin meet, and then you want to use it to create shadows underneath the collar to help them look more lifted. You also shade a little bit on top of the collar, but not near the edges of the very tip of the collar is. You want that to look more highlighted, so you don't want to shade over there in that area. You also want to use that black eyeshadow to create wrinkles on top of the jacket and wrinkles right where your armpit and shoulder meet. Then I take a purple eyeshadow and I apply that randomly around the jacket, so near the shadows that are right below the collar, and then just randomly all over the jacket to create some different shading for the purple. Because like if you have a purple jacket, it might be a solid color, but once the light hits it or like you're in a darker area, it creates different tones of purple on the jacket. So that's why you want to use a purple eyeshadow, or even if you're creating a green like jacket, like a green eyeshadow to create different tones of green or purple or whatever color you're using on that jacket. You gotta shade the shirt as well so people can see the difference between the jacket, the shirt, the tie. There's shadows and layers going on in this area so people can differentiate what's what. And then you take that eyeshadow and you start shading around the tie as well. You want to create a shadow right below the tie so that the tie looks lifted. And then you can use the eyeshadow to create wrinkles on top of the tie as well, so you don't just have the face paint there. You have the eyeshadow, which makes it look a little bit more realistic than the face paint. To shade the tie, I also use a dark brown eyeshadow, and that's to help it not look so harsh, like so there wouldn't be too many dark black lines and shading going on. Then you want to highlight. You always want to highlight wherever you shade. So what I use to highlight is my white cream paint, and I just apply that to any area that I want to highlight. Like I said, if there's an area you want to look more lifted, you want to use the highlighter in that area. So I made sure I highlighted on the very corners of the collar, randomly near wrinkles all over the jacket, and then like to the center of the tie and near the wrinkles near the tie. You always just want to highlight wherever you shade, and it just adds so much more to the look. That's another thing I learned from Jordan, to use cream white makeup to highlight a face paint look, and it does make it a lot more easier than mixing together like light colors of each color to highlight. It's easier just to use the cream and then mix it in, and then it'll just create the perfect highlight that you need for that area. Anyways, once I've done that, I start to shade the teeth by using a black eyeshadow and a paintbrush. And then I just kind of shade randomly around the teeth so they're just not too white. And then when I paint my hands, I use a face paint, not the cream paint on my hands. Reason being is I'm the one who films and takes pictures of myself, so I really didn't want to mess up my camera with the white cream paint, because it's much easier to remove face paint from your camera than it is cream paint. So I just went with a face paint on top of the hands so that it would be really easy to wipe off of my camera. Now I take a lime green paint and I start using that to paint on ruffles, and then I just shaded using my black eyeshadow. I'm sorry this tutorial is so long. It's just a little bit more detailed than it normally is, just because there's so many steps to each area, like the mouth and the eyes, but I think it's worth it. So thanks for watching this far in the video if you have. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please make sure you check out Melvin and Zach's tutorials after you exit out of this tutorial. They're both really amazing, so check them out. Subscribe to their YouTube channels, I Cannot Talk, and their Instagrams. They have like really awesome Instagrams. So I'll see you guys in my next video. And if you want to check out my channel Geekupp, where I paint more looks like this, go ahead. I'll link it down below. Anyways, I'll see you guys in my next tutorial. Take care. Bye.